reporters with us today on standby, ready to give their reports. In today's lineup, we have with us Love and Season on the floating cinema that has arrived in London, the first in the United Kingdom. Then we are joined by Ashley Espiritu on Gandhi's iconic glasses, which sell for $340,000 in the United Kingdom. We are also joined by our correspondent in EBC Geneva, Switzerland, Mianne Glauser, on the young Iglesia Ni Cristo members from Belgium, France, Monaco and Switzerland displaying their biblical knowledge. We have also reports from EBC Italy, where new health measures for the new school year have been in place. EBC Zurich, Switzerland, we have a report by Ebi Ordinario on sous vide cooking. And EBC Sports update on how Bundesliga football clubs are drawing up plans for the return of spectators. And again, we end today's show with our view from the window, which gives us a scenic view from one of our beautiful European cities. But first, the news headlines. In the United Kingdom, the fresh virus restrictions across the UK as cases are rising. Coronavirus restrictions were tightened in the Scottish city of Glasgow and extended in parts of northern England on Wednesday following a surge of infection rates. The new measures come amidst a steady uptick in cases across Britain, which has suffered Europe's deadliest outbreak of COVID-19, with more than 41,500 confirmed deaths. Regional restrictions imposed on the towns of Bolton and Trafford in England's Greater Manchester area were due to be lifted last Wednesday, but at the last minute, they were prolonged. Local politicians had called for a continued ban on social gatherings in homes and private gardens, with Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham advising the public to ignore any relaxation of the rules. Elsewhere, the devolved government in Scotland reimposed restrictions on Glasgow and 2 surrounding areas, warning against visiting other people's houses. The measures, which will last for 2 weeks, came after 66 new cases were recorded in the area on Tuesday. Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon, herself a Glasgow resident, acknowledged how difficult this would be, but said it was essential to nip this in the bud and to avoid tougher restrictions. On the city streets, many people accepted the new measures were necessary, but questioned how they would be enforced. Nationwide restrictions were imposed in Britain in late March, but the lockdown has since been largely lifted, with only localized restrictions introduced to deal with any flare-ups. Separately, Scotland announced that anyone arriving from Greece from this Thursday morning would have to self-isolate for 2 weeks after a significant rise of imported cases. Staying in the United Kingdom now, where children go back to school in England. As children begin the autumn term, schools are taking new measures to reduce the spread of the coronavirus. Pupils of the Arbors Primary Academy in Northampton returned to their classrooms after almost 6 months' break due to the COVID-19 pandemic. New measures such as social bubbles and regular hand washing have been put in place.
We've put some thorough risk assessments in place to make sure that everything was as safe as possible for the children returning. In our classrooms, we have set up the tables so that they are in rows, so that the children are facing the front to keep them as safe as possible. We've staggered our start and finish times so that the children are arriving and going home at separate times to limit the number of adults on the site. We also have one-way systems around the external of the building and the internal of the building to make sure that we're not crossing bubbles at all. The children stay in their bubbles, which is their classroom, with their class teacher, and they stay together for their lunchtime, for their breaks, all of the time, just to make sure that we're limiting the number of people that they come in contact with. The children have been absolutely amazing. Every face, I think, this morning was a smiling face, ready to get back into school. They're full of excitement, ready to learn, and the behaviour has just been impeccable. I think they're so pleased to be back, to see their friends, and to get on with normal learning life.
Well, representatives of a teachers' union, Jerry Glazier, says in an interview that teachers are concerned about the possible return of the virus in the coming months. They want some more assurances from the government about additional resources, that maybe more teachers can be employed, maybe other teaching spaces can be identified to minimize the potential disruption in the children's education. Let's listen to more of their concerns.
But of course there are some anxieties. There are anxieties amongst students, there are anxieties amongst the staff, and there are inevitable anxieties amongst the parents as well. We have done all we can to ensure that schools are COVID secure, that the processes in place have been discussed with the staff, and it's very important that we ensure that they are implemented consistently over the length of this pandemic. What we are concerned about, that if there is a return of the virus locally or nationally, that it could have a detrimental impact on the continuing provision of education. So we want some more assurances for government about additional resources, so that maybe more teachers can be employed, maybe other teaching spaces can be identified, so that we minimise the potential disruption to children's education as the term starts and progresses into the autumn. I think the most important thing is that the students come back into the new school environment, which will be very different from the one most of them left, in a way where they can understand why the changes have been put in place, that they are reassured about the school environment, and teachers are going to have to get the kids back into the way of learning. That will take some time, and they're going to have to make adjustments for that to happen. So that's very important. I'm afraid professional expectations are a bit low at the moment, because we've seen some of the performance of government being not up to the mark in terms of being decisive and effective, particularly over the attempt to open schools too early in June, after they didn't close them down quickly enough in March, but also with the examination system. So there are some reputations that need to be rebuilt in government.
We go to France now, where unemployment is at the heart of France's economic recovery plan. France has announced a recovery plan of 100 billion euros, equivalent to 120 billion US dollars, with the aim to help the French economy return to its pre-pandemic level by the year 2022. And the French Prime Minister states that employment is the absolute priority and promises the creation of 160,000 new jobs next year. Aside from stimulating employment, the plan also includes decarbonizing the economy and boosting corporate competitiveness. The corporate sector will get 35 billion euros, while around 30 billion euros will go to the environmental policies. This recovery plan comes after France's economy is hit by its worst downturn since 1945, with the gross domestic product descending by 13.8% in the second quarter, after the first quarter's drop of more than 5%. To Greece now, where COVID-19 has hit a Greek migrant camp. Greece's largest migrant camp of Moria, on the island of Lesbos, has nearly 13,000 asylum seekers. Its first COVID-19 infection was announced last Wednesday. The patient is a 40-year-old Somali man who had been allowed to permanently move to Athens, but recently returned to the island of Lesbos. Contact tracing is now being done, and checks are underway in the camp, according to the Health Ministry. The camp is sealed now until September 15th. Access is only being given to security personnel after they pass temperature tests. The UN Refugee Agency has urged Greece to reduce congestion at camps because there are nearly 24,000 people in 5 island camps, while being built to only accommodate 4 times less than that many people. Quarantine in separate buildings takes place for new arrivals to limit the risk of infecting the entire camp. So far, there has been no reported fatalities in the migrant camp. It's time for a break now, but please come back for more E&I and UK edition.
Sa September 5, Sabado at September 6, Linggo, alas 12 ng tanghali at alas 9 ng gabi ay muli nating mapapanood ang mas pinalawak at mas pinalaking talent competition on Philippine television and online. Tagisan ng Galing Part 2! muling samahan ang ating mga hurado na humanap ng mga Pilipinong may natatanging galing sa pagkanta at pagsayaw. Abangan ang kanilang performances na magpapayanig at magbibigay ng kulay sa ating TNG stage. Dito lang yan sa Tagisan ng Galing Part 2. Dito lang sa Net 25. Tagisan ng Galing Part 2 is co-presented by Cooper, an expert in air conditioning and electromechanical, also engaged in structural, electrical, fire protection, plumbing, and sanitary services. Cooper, your ultimate MEPS and air conditioning solutions. Unlad Incorporated International, fight against global poverty. Canrib Corporation, your ventilation and air conditioning specialist. Our sponsors, BDO, we find ways. JRC Industrial Sales, RS Square Variables Incorporated, your trusted UPS supplier and UPS maintenance provider in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. RJK Services Manpower Agency Corporation, Robus Builders, Chris Raff Enterprises, Victory Carpentry, DOP Asiatic Pest Control Services, and AUB Aspire for the Future. In partnership with New Era University ETEEAP, Expanded Tertiary Education, Equivalency and Accreditation Program. Embrace Cafe, we embrace differently abled persons.
Welcome back to E&I UK and Europe edition. Now for more interesting stories from around the United Kingdom this week. We go to a live report by Love and Season on the Float in Cinema, which allows social distancing screenings in boats. To give us more, hello Lavan.
Hi Giancarlo, and thank you for having me. So a new kind of cinema is inaugurated in London where film fans can watch a movie from boats floating on the Paddington Basin, an experience enticing cinema lovers who feel safer outdoors. Open Air, Merchant Square, and Go Boat are joining forces for the new venture. Let's check out some of their reactions.
I love it. As a Londoner, I often walk the canal, so it's lovely to be here for a different experience. The weather hasn't rained on us like London usually does, so that's also good. And Life of Pi is one of my favourite films. Although the cinema is such an incredible experience with like surround sound and being in darkness and usually like not being able to use your phone, there's something really lovely about watching movies differently.
Luckily the weather is really good tonight. That might be an issue if it's not, but yeah, just feel a bit. We've been back to doing a few activities, and they're mostly outdoors because indoors I still struggle a bit with people proximity and people getting too close and things like that. Yeah.
So the idea actually came about just early on into lockdown, and we're a family-owned business. We had a bit of a light bulb moment to think it'd be great fun to bring an outdoor drive-in event, but with a bit of a difference, and to do it by boat. Well, I think people have missed just normal living, you know, and so cultural experiences forms part of that. And so being able to bring an outdoor cinematic experience and then drive in by boat is just something new and something fun that people can enjoy.
So there will be 16 eco-boats, each seating 6 to 8 plus socially distanced deck chairs on land for guests who don't wish to venture onto the water, providing seating for 128 people in total, with film lovers enjoying movies while floating on the Regent's Canal. Films will be shown on a 6 by 3 meters LED screen in order to minimize disturbance to others in the area. Audio will be played through sanitized wireless headphones. Back to you, Giancarlo.
Thank you, Lavan. That's an interesting story. And what a unique way for us to enjoy movies. But how much will these tickets cost?
Well, prices start from £16.50 or $21.60 for a deck chair and £34 or $44.50 per person for a boat of up to 8 people. Giancarlo?
That's nice. Are there any selection of movie lineups for those interested to try it out?
Yeah, there's actually a few. So Open Air Cinema has screenings both in the evening and listed until the end of the month. The lineup will include family favorites such as The Lion King and Toy Story. Also, film fans will be able to watch sing-along screenings of Grease, La La Land, and The Greatest Showman, even Titanic.
That's great. As we know, but going to the cinema, the whole experience is not complete without food. Will they be able to get food there?
Yes, certainly. So, Giancarlo, there will be food available from pasta specialists Ravioli, bringing an Italian-inspired gourmet menu on the pop-up kitchen set up on the water's edge. And of course, drinks, ice cream, popcorn, and sweets will all be on sale. Back to you, Giancarlo.
Thank you so much, Lovan, for that interesting report.
Thank you, Giancarlo. Reporting from London, United Kingdom, I'm Love Ann, a Villanosa season, and we live in interesting times.
Okay, now we go to Ashley Espiritu, who has a live report for us, an update on how Gandhi's glasses have been sold in the United Kingdom for $340,000. Hello, Ashley.
Hello, Giancarlo. Thank you. A pair of gold-plated glasses worn by Indian independence hero Mahatma Gandhi was sold in Britain for £260,000, about 288,000 euros, and $340,000, the auction house said. We found them just 4 weeks ago in our letterbox, left there by a gentleman whose uncle had been given them by Gandhi himself, East Bristol Auctions wrote on Instagram after the sale late Friday. An incredible result for an incredible item, thanks to all those who bid. The auction house continued to add, Gandhi was known for giving out old or unwanted pairs to those in need or those who had helped him. Gandhi was a lawyer and a political activist who led the campaign for Indian independence from British rule through non-violent protest movement. His style of attire, loincloth, shawl, sandals and glasses, became firmly associated with the nationalist movement. The non-violent protest gave the glasses to the vendor's uncle, who was working for the British Petroleum in South Africa during the 1920s or 30s, said the auction house. They were given to him by the famous civil rights leader and were passed down from generation to generation. Announcing the sale on Friday on social media, the auction house described it as an incredible result for an incredible item. The sale price smashed the original estimate of around £15,000. Following after the auction, he further emphasized that these are probably the most famous pair of spectacles we've ever had and the most important historical item we found, said Andrew Stowe, one of the auctioneers. Stowe told Sky News earlier this month, when the iconic glasses arrived at the auction house, that the vendor had told him if they're no good, just throw them away. When Stowe suggested they might have been worth £15,000, he claimed the vendor almost fell off his chair. And now the iconic glasses have completely smashed the estimated amount by hundreds of thousands of pounds. Back to you, Giancarlo.
Thank you so much, Ashley, for that report today.
Thank you, Giancarlo. I'm Ashley Espiritu, correspondent from London, United Kingdom, and we live in interesting times.
For our next report, we will be joined live by Mian Glauser from EBC Switzerland, who will report on the online Bible quiz for Iglesia Ni Cristo youth members held in Belgium, France, Monaco, and Switzerland. Hello, Mian.
Hi, Giancarlo. So for a bright future, people give great importance to education. Even during these times of pandemic, the new school year has had to start in many countries. Although gaining knowledge and education is important in general, for Iglesia Ni Cristo Church of Christ member, it's knowledge from the Bible that matters the most, and they demonstrated this through a friendly competition on Bible knowledge for the youth members of the church. Held through video conferencing in the countries of Switzerland, Monaco, Belgium, and France, the recently held contest was divided into 3 categories, from 4 to 6, 7 to 9, and 10 to 12 years old. The level of difficulty of the questions was adapted to the age of the children. In the first category, the 4 to 6 years olds, there were mostly yes or no questions. In the category of 7 to 9 years olds, questions were mainly multiple choice questions. And finally, For children aged from 10 to 12 years old, they had mostly open-ended questions. To give their answers, children had to write them on a piece of paper and show them once the time was over. Scores of each one of them were counted, and a recognition prize will be given to the 3 children with the highest score in their respective category. The young members of the Church of Christ in this part of Europe were excited in showing what they knew from the Bible, and were also able to learn from others' answers. Back to you in the studio.
Hey, Ian. How did the children prepare themselves for this friendly competition?
Well, all the children were given a set of topics to review from the lessons they received in the children worship services. They had a week to prepare themselves for the friendly contest. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you so much, Mian, for your report today.
Thank you for having me. I'm Mangauser, and I am reporting from Geneva, Switzerland, and we live in interesting times.
Okay, it's time for another break now, but please come back for more ENI UK and Europe edition.
Do you want to earn a degree while you work? New Era University now offers Expanded Tertiary Education Equivalency and Accreditation Program, or ETEEAP. ETEEAP is an educational scheme that recognizes knowledge, skills, and prior learning obtained by individuals from non-formal and informal education experiences. It is implemented through deputized higher educational institutions like the New Era University that awards the appropriate degrees. Programs offered are the following: Master's Program, Masters of Arts in Education, major in Educational Management, Master's Program in Business Administration, Bachelor of Arts in Science, major in Political Science, Bachelor of Arts in Science, major in Mass Communication, Bachelor of Science in Education, major in Filipino, major in English, Bachelor of Science in Business Administration with majors in Human Resources Development, Marketing Management, and Financial Management. Beneficiaries must be Filipinos who have attained at least high school level of education. The program is flexible and you don't need to attend regular classes. Expanded Tertiary Education Equivalency and Accreditation Program, or ETEEAP, is under the supervision of Dr. Nilo L. Rosas, the University President, and Professor Anita P. Santos, Director of ETEEAP. For more information, contact the following: Cristina Moreno, 0995-138-0786, or email cvmoreno@neu.edu.ph, or Arlene Sarmiento, 0906-298-9150, or email cedctl@neu.edu.ph. What are you waiting for? Let New Era University be your partner in achieving your dreams.
Welcome back to ENI UK and Europe edition. Now we have more interesting stories from around Europe this week. In Europe, we have this report from EBC Italy by Carl Pasquale on the new health measures that apply to the new school year that starts in Italy amid the current pandemic. Let's watch his report.
Italian schools are set to reopen in September after they were closed in March due to the coronavirus crisis. But things are expected to be very different in the new academic year. The Education Minister Lucia Azzolina published a list of new safety protocols for schools earlier this month, which she promised to protect the health of students and teachers and will also improve education in the long term. Teachers' unions have agreed to the proposals, meaning that schools can begin applying them before the new term starts on September 14th. Some uncertainty remains, however, and ministers are expected to make further announcements clarifying some points ahead of reopening. For now, here's what we do know. For the students and teachers, there's no national rule that you have to get tested before returning to school, but the government has promised to give all teachers, public and private, the possibility of taking a free, voluntary coronavirus test either before or during the new term. It says it will also carry out periodic testing on students, though on selected samples rather than en masse. Mostly, though, the government is relying on parents to monitor their children's health and keep kids home if their temperature rises above 37.5 degrees Celsius, or if they show any signs of respiratory illness. The government has emphasized the importance of getting all pupils, especially younger ones, back in class as much as possible. Remote teaching is most likely to remain a possibility for older students, who may find they spend fewer full days on campus. Face masks are mandatory for all children over the age of 6 when they're on school premises, except for in gym class, when eating in canteens and answering a teacher. Teachers, other staff, and parents will be required to wear face masks inside the school premises. It is also necessary to ensure a distance of at least 1 meter or about 3 feet between pupils throughout school premises. The latest guidance doesn't clear up all the uncertainties for schools by any means. The Education Ministry says it has set up a helpline for schools to seek further guidance, which will be available from August 24th, 3 weeks before schools reopen. In total, it has budgeted 2.9 billion euros to cover the adjustments. Reporting from Brescia, Italy, this is Carl Pasquale. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Carl and EBC Italy, for that report. We go to EBC Switzerland now, where our correspondent Ebi Ordinario, we will learn how about sous vide cooking. Let's play his video.
Have you ever been to a gourmet restaurant and can't forget how that steak tastes like? Well, with sous vide cooking, we will bring the taste of that steak back to your home.
Sous vide comes from the French word meaning under vacuum. It is a cooking method that has been developed in the 1970s and is mostly used in professional and gourmet kitchen. With the sous vide method, you cook vacuum-packed food in a water bath at a consistent low temperature. The use of a circulator will automatically regulate the temperature for you, and all you have to do is wait for the set time to elapse. Sous vide is a very vitamin-friendly method and allows the flavors of oils, spices, and herbs to be absorbed instead of it evaporating into air. For steaks, it is advised to sear and baste the steak after taking it out of the water bath and letting it rest for a couple of minutes. When you cut the steak for the first time, you will be amazed at the beautiful color and texture of the meat.
And there you have it, gourmet-style cooking at your own home. From Zurich, Switzerland, I am Ebi Ordinario.
To our sports headline now, where Bundesliga football clubs are drawing up plans for the return of spectators. The new men's Bundesliga football season is due to begin on September 18, when champions Bayern Munich host Schalke. In mid-August, senior German politicians said they would not back the Bundesliga's plans for home fans to return across the country. The Bundesliga CEO confirms that while Germany's football clubs are preparing for a return of spectators, different regions still have the 500 spectator limit. So they cannot just say that there should be 8,500 spectators. Instead, Christian Sefer also confirmed that the German Football League will carry out COVID-19 tests on players and staff twice a week. It is now up to the football clubs themselves to get permission from their local authorities who manage the preventative measures against COVID-19. RB Leipzig have received permission to host 8,400 fans, which is a fifth of the Red Bull Arena's capacity, for their first game of the season at home to Mainz on September 20. Hertha Berlin, on the other hand, said they will allow 4,000 supporters to attend their home opener 5 days later. Both the German League and the German FA have announced that they are investing a seven-figure sum to finance 3 specific studies exploring the conditions required for fans to return to these football games. Now we go to our view from a window. This week's view comes from Brussels, Belgium, with the peak of our famous Atomin Monument, which gives us a panoramic view of the city. Brussels is known for its historic buildings and monuments, some of which are registered UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Furthermore, the city is considered the capital of the European Union due to it being home of many of the important European institutions. This video was with thanks courtesy of Kate Ribibis of EBC Belgium. We thank you for that wonderful view. We hope you are well and staying safe and positive. We'll be back next week again for more news and reports from United Kingdom and Europe. I'm Giancarlo Matera, and we live in interesting times.